Hello everyone, welcome back. It is another beautiful fall day, nice and cool, Sunday morning, and I'm looking over some of the things that I've got to get done. Now, with fall on the farm, there is a lot of things that we have to get done up, and part of it's maintenance on some of the equipment, some of the things we've broke, some of the things that we've worn out, etc, etc, etc. Now, I do mowerboard plow all my fields. That is a practice that we use, and there are reasons for using it. In our situation, there are huge benefits to mowerboard plowing, and that's why we mowerboard plow. Some areas they don't. They use other types of tillage or no tillage and stuff like that. But that's basically a video for another day. We will be doing some fall and winter mowerboard plowing versus cover cropping some pieces of ground, and we'll talk about that in upcoming videos a little more in depth. But what I got to do right now is I got to change the plowshares or the plow points in the shins. Now, I've done a couple videos on mowerboard plows and some of their components and things, but on the four basic wearable parts on a mowerboard plow are, and let me see if I can get them cleaned off enough here to where you can see it. Okay, so what we got here, we got the mowerboard, which is this piece here, okay, that turns the soil over. This is a shin. This is the piece that starts the soil turning, and this is the plowshare or the plow point. And then on the back side, you have a landslide, this piece right here. Okay, that's your four basic wearable points or parts, components on a plow. So we've got about a year and a half out of these shins and points. The slides don't wear quite as much. They're thicker, they're heavier, and they're not facing the brunt of the soil moving. Mowerboards, nah, they wear. But so we need 3 points and 3 shins and the bolts, and that's what we got. Here's a new one. I wasn't able to get the rock guard ones. It's a Wise USA. Probably made in China though, if I was guessing. I don't know that for a fact, but anyhow, that's a new one. That's what we're going to be putting on it. And then of course we got the new shins. What I was going to show you, this plow has probably got about 10 acres on these points, if I was guessing, maybe a little more. And this plow point is about 3.5 inches, and the new one is about 4.5. Now the reason we replace these is the plow frog comes down to like right here on the back side, and if we don't replace these, we start wearing the plow itself. And if you wear the plow out, you can't buy replacement parts for it. I mean, you can find a parts plow and make it work, but that's why we replace them. It is critical that you replace these. Now, those 3 points, the 3 points, the 3 shins, and the bolts were about 150 bucks. It's not cheap by no means, but it's cheaper than buying a new plow. So that's a good plow. I know what it is. It does me a good job. So I, try to maintain them. But that's a little bit about the mowerboard plows. That's not all. Reason I gotta get them done pretty quick is I'm gonna be using them. I'll be using them rather shortly. pick up my gloves here. The ground's too wet right now, but as soon as it gets dry enough, I've got to plow some ground. That's not all. The Dodge 3500, it's got parts coming for HIT. It's getting new ball joints left and right, and it is also getting tie rod ends, drag links, all that good jazz. They are pretty sloppy. It needs them, so we're gonna go ahead and get that done up. It's just typical. The truck's got 150,000 miles on it. It is time. It also needs a few other odds and ends that we'll take care of. But look for more information on moldboard plowing. We will make a video of us changing these, trying to get them off and give you a good comparison. And once we get it picked up, we'll check the landslides, make sure they're not worn excessively, and if they are, we will get them replaced as well. But moldboard plowing is it's an interesting operation, and the way we farm and the soils we farm and in the area we farm, that it's almost critical or mandatory that we moldboard plow. But I had the conversation, and we'll talk a little bit about the fall plowing now. Had a conversation this past week, and hold on, I know the wind's probably rough. Get back over here next to the barn, kind of out of the wind. But had a conversation this past week about someone was kind of giving me a rough time about some of the fields I'm not going to be cover cropping. I'll be moldboard plowing instead. And we had the whole conversation of, pros and cons. Basically, we're at the 1st of November. And if we have a typical, and I mean typical weather year, we are getting very late to get a cover crop in our area. In other words, we can sow the cover crop, and you're going to have a flat piece of ground with very light tillage on it, or a bare piece of ground with very light tillage on it, and no cover, because the seed won't germinate. Now, there's other types of cover crops we could put on there, but they may be difficult to try to eradicate come spring. So kind of the situation we're at now is it's almost too late to sow a cover crop that'll be of any benefit. Now, there are other benefits I know of cover crops. The biggest one we're looking for is to add organic matter and to hold the soil in place. Well, if we turn the ground, all the refuge and crop residue left on top of the ground will be turned into the ground. Hence, we'll be adding organic matter. And if we properly plow it, then it will help stabilize soil to where there's no erosion. And like I said, we'll get into that more as we go on. A lot of times people will take a recommendation. Now, there's nothing wrong with cover crops, and they're very beneficial. Don't get me wrong, that's not what I'm saying. But in some cases, there's benefits to not cover cropping too. And that is one thing that a lot of new and beginning farmers struggle with, is they'll take a recommendation, which is a broad recommendation, and think that it is chiseled in stone, that it has to be done that way. It does not. Each situation merits its own response or method or technique to that situation. And learning the best method and technique for the situation that you have is one of the keys to being a successful farmer. That's my opinion. That, a cup of coffee, and that and $1.50 to get you a cup of coffee. But that's key. And I'll give you a prime example. I had a comment the other day on a video I'd done a while back on splitting kindling, and guy's comment was, that's a good way to cut your fingers off. there's much better techniques to splitting kindling. Why don't you look them up on YouTube? I am. Well, yes and no. The way I split kindling, I've been doing for 40 years. I was taught that way by my grandpa and my dad, and that's the way they done it, and so forth, so on. I didn't learn how to split kindling by watching YouTube. I learned by doing it and found the best situation for me. Now, would I recommend someone else to do that? Not necessarily. If it works for you, go for it. If it don't. But what I'm saying is, you know, the cookie cutter way of doing things is not the best way to do things. You've got to be flexible enough and pay attention enough and observant enough to find the way that works best for what you're trying to accomplish in the situation you have. I didn't mean to go on a little bit of a rant there, but you know, just like with moldboard plowing, there's some areas of the country and some soils and some places you don't need this implement. Okay, there's other areas that you have to have this implement, and there's areas where this implement will benefit your operation, and there's areas where this implement will hurt your operation. So you need to know that, you know, and you learn that through experience, and there's really no other way to learn that. And you know, good experience is a good teacher, and so is bad experience. So you know, that's what you got to do. But anyhow, that's where we're at. We've this upcoming week, this needs to get done. Front end work on the Dodge needs to get done. Hopefully we'll get some of the plastic mulch up out of the fields. I do have to gather a few more pumpkins, believe it or not. We'll get that done, and hopefully the weather forecast is looking pretty good. Hopefully we'll get to put some of this stuff to work. That's the plan anyhow. We'll see how it all works out. But if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. See a video and you can see things grown up in a mess, all sorts of stuff around. But if you like what we're doing, please subscribe. Want to follow along, we'd be happy to have you. We'd appreciate it if you did. If you have subscribed, we do thank you. You see a video you like, or have a question about, or a comment like the gentleman with the I guess it was a gentleman, I didn't even pay attention, about the kindling, please let us know. Like I said, I'm not by any means picking on that particular individual. It's just I found it a little humorous. You know, that's just me, and like I said, that may be you know, it's not that their point of view was invalid. It was just, you know, it is what it is. But anyhow, until next time, I'm a little long-winded this morning. Had a little too much coffee. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you guys later. Bye.